Hey, Mystic Michaela spiritual family, welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, talking about loss and grief, how I have seen throughout my readings, how different people deal with it, how it's nuanced in aura color, and my specific take on it. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Well, speaking of grief,
Yeah.
I have to say this before we even get started today.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I was living my life.
I know.
Everything was great. I was feeling good.
Yeah.
You know.
You were high vibe.
High vibing.
Yeah.
I was drinking my green juice.
Yes, you started drinking green
Yeah,
juice.
my spiritual awakening was in full swing.
You're juicing, you're vibing.
I'm juicing. I got my angel numbers book. I'm reading that. Number 41 was big for me.
Yeah.
You know, me and Phoebe are
Phoebe,
kind of...
you guys are making amends.
We're making amends.
It's weird. Yeah.
We have discussion groups, and one of the moderators, Shenya, pulled number 41 from your angel numbers book.
Yeah.
And it fit perfectly the fight me and Phoebe have been having.
I know.
And now I understand her. I think she actually told her to pull it.
It's super weird.
It's super weird. So
Yeah.
like, I'm all into this. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
You know, shadow work. I'm doing everything's good.
There's
and
meaning
then,
to life. There's meaning to life.
Yeah, exactly. Meaning. All right, let's put it that. Meaning
Yeah.
to life. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That is what I was getting at. And then a bunch of greens. No, seriously, a bunch of greens decide that they are going to show us images from the James Webb Space Telescope.
Right.
Okay? You know, they come out with these images.
I know.
They're everywhere. You can't escape them.
They're everywhere.
You know, here I was drinking my coffee
Yeah.
at like 7 o'clock at night, like I always do. People ask how I can do that, but I can, and still fall asleep at 11. And you come over and you tell me to turn on the TV.
I'm like, watch Lester Holt.
Watch Lester Holt, the nightly news.
Like, watch it.
And there it is. Panic attack.
Like everyone else, and I think Lester Holt was even like, hey, for you space nerds, and like, pretty cool, huh? And your face just fell. Because on episode 115, Scott went more into this. He can't go to planetariums. It's too much that he doesn't understand, and it makes him question his purpose here.
Yeah.
It's just a big existential crisis.
I mean, my mouth is still open.
I don't even know what we're looking at with
Okay.
these photos.
I had to research it.
Okay.
And I don't know. I'm not green, so I still don't know what we're looking at.
Yeah.
But
A lot of indigos work at NASA too, I have to say.
okay, all right. Well,
I gotta shout out to the indigos.
This has green written all over it.
Okay.
All right. You know, first these greens come up with Instagram and TikTok, and now this. Okay.
Now
They're
this.
just ruining my
They're
life.
big,
The greens
fancy cameras.
The greens are ruining my life. Okay. All right. So what are we looking at? We were looking at nebulas.
Okay.
I think the Carina Nebula.
All right.
Okay. Cosmic cliffs and valleys.
Ooh.
Now, let me explain to you. This image that we saw of these cosmic cliffs and valleys, I guess.
Yeah.
They stretched in, like, you see the picture.
Yeah.
I don't know. Most people probably have seen that picture.
There's like 4 pictures.
Yeah.
Right.
This was like one of the big ones.
Okay.
It stretched 7 light years in height.
What does that mean?
Okay. Do you know what? I had to look up what that
No.
meant. Okay. Oh, take a guess how much a light year is in miles.
I don't know.
Take a guess. Rando guess.
7 million. I don't even know what a light year is. What's a light year?
It's like a distance. It's like I didn't know either.
I don't know.
I'm lying if you think I knew what it was before I looked it up.
I don't know what a light year is or does. Is that like how long it takes light to travel?
Yeah, the speed of light
I
to travel.
so zoned out during these parts of my life when I was supposed to be learning these things.
1 light year is roughly approximately 6 trillion miles.
Okay.
For our Canadian fans, I think that's about 9 trillion kilometers.
Okay.
All right. And this is 7 of them. So you're talking 7 times 6, 42. I'll do the math for you. 42 trillion miles, just the height of that thing.
Oh, it's big.
That's bigger than the Grand Canyon. Okay.
Well, yeah, even bigger than that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like the Grand Canyon is probably
That's like nothing.
a couple miles. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the
So
thing
it's
that they
big.
were,
Okay.
now they were looking at the northwest corner of the Carina Nebula, and the thing they're looking at is 7,600 light years from Earth. So do 7,600 times 6 trillion, approximately
I
6
don't
trillion.
know. How far away is
That's
that?
a gazillion. That's a gazillion.
Okay.
A gazillion, I think.
So
Yeah.
when I hear stuff like that, my mind just is like, it just deflates. Like I can't even compute it.
Yeah. And so...
So why does this depress you?
Okay, so
It's so far away.
Yeah, and let me get to that.
Okay.
And so this was a NASA administrator,
Okay.
Bill Nelson. I'm not even looking up green.
We just know.
And this was a quote from him.
I think you have a green baby. You name him Bill Nelson.
Yeah, Bill Nelson.
You're like, that's a green baby. We're going to name you Bill Nelson.
Bill Nelson. Okay. If you held a grain of sand on the tip of your finger at arm's length, that is the part of the universe you are seeing.
Oh, you're just seeing that much.
One little speck of the universe.
Wow.
And what we saw was, and in that speck
Yeah.
was like galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies. It blows my mind.
I always wonder how small-minded people deal with that.
Okay, so let me explain.
By small-minded, I mean people that really think, like, I guess, like when people are think God hates you because you're gay or something, and then there's like that.
Okay.
It's like, why? Like, that's where I go.
Okay, you go that way.
Yeah, I'm like, there's so much. Like, do you think he really, if that would really, like, anything matters like that? Like, do you really think like that somebody's watching that closely or cares about these things that us humans have made into such a thing?
Right.
Like, that perspective should alleviate all our 3D problems.
Well, okay, in a way,
should.
It could, yeah. I mean, you could. Okay,
That's how I think
all
of
right.
it.
Like
wow, we should all stop fighting. Like, this is bigger.
yeah, I guess it is a route like you can take. Like, you see some, like we've been through we've talked about stuff like this before.
Yeah.
Like, you see someone who has it all or whatever, and they're so great, but really, what are they? They're a speck of cosmic dust in. On the edge of a fingertip,
Just
a grain of sand. You're nothing. You are nothing.
Yeah, I find comfort in that.
Yeah, and if you think you're something, you're not. You're nothing.
Yeah, but I find such comfort in that, and you find such fear in that.
Okay, so again, I don't want to have a panic attack on the air.
Right.
I had my panic attack a few days ago.
Yeah, when we watched Lester Holt.
I guess, okay, so the problem that I have with it is like, all right, so now that I'm spiritually awakened and I do believe in all this stuff, how do we put that, like, I guess, like what you were saying is like, okay, so like really what, if we're just like the speck of dust or whatever, the speck of sand, what does it matter? Like what I do, like the universe actually would care? My spirit guide, why do my spirit guides even care? I'm just this dust.
You're
speck.
having an existential crisis.
It's insane. I can't handle it.
But because we're human and our egos rule us, we think like we're the end all be all focal point of anything.
Well, no, and I don't.
And we're
think
not.
that, because I just gave us numbers.
No, but that's where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like when you say what does it matter, it's like exactly like in the not mattering the way you think it does, you actually matter in a better way. I mean, that's how I see it.
But how could like there be trillions and trillions and I don't even know the numbers. They probably don't even know the numbers because it's of miles away and like there's something going on there. Obviously.
Well, I thought it was cool because they said we definitely will find a livable planet. Like these are hardcore, practical, straight up scientists. They're like, yep, we're gonna find a planet that could host life similar to what we know.
Well, it would have to be because like if like just for let's go green here for like your Star Wars people, that a galaxy far away, that's one galaxy, and this guy and they're telling us there's as many galaxies as there's grains of sand.
Yes.
So how could we obviously be the only planet that has living things on it? It would be impossible. It would have
100%. Yeah.
Because even if, let's say, 0.00001 and 0.0000001 in kilometers for our Canadian listeners, there have life on them, right? So there has to be. Or something, has to be. It would be impossible not to.
So, like, if we're making that leap.
Yeah, I'm taking that leap.
Okay, to the extraterrestrial thing. Right. Like, I feel that 100%, I think we're really behind, actually. That our little cute telescope out there, like, cute, that's cute. You got your little telescope, you can take little pictures.
Right.
I feel like if you were to map us out, like, we're like the new world. You know what I mean? Like, we're just barely coming along with our technology. I feel like there's other civilizations that already have their eye on us. Right. I feel like 100%, like I feel like we're out of the way or something. I don't know what that means. I always felt like we're just out of the way.
You scared me.
So we're kind of like a harder spot to get to. And the only way I can think of it in my own mind is kind of like, back in Europe in 1492, we're just a harder, if you're going to the New World, you're a harder spot to get to.
So you're saying we're kind of like Nome, Alaska.
Yeah, we're just kind of far away. So I feel like that's kind of maybe not saved us or kind of made it more difficult for other life forms to pay more attention to us, because I don't think we're a convenient stop off.
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah, because like, you wouldn't want to go.
Yeah, I think we're an out of the way stop off, but they know we're here.
Right.
And they definitely have their eye on us.
Right.
And I think the stuff that we see, or people say they see, or like now it's come out, UFO reports are just government are issuing them now. I feel like those are just maybe the scouters or something, just keeping an eye real quick, just here we go, bye. Put some stuff down, grab it, move, take their measurements, whatever they're doing. And 100%, I feel like we're just catching on.
All right. And then we have the Starseeds, Keanu Reeves, I think. He probably came from the Carina Nebula. How did he get here so fast? Did he?
We're all just energy.
Okay.
So like when you pass and you go to the other side, I mean, I feel like a lot of times you can pick which way you're coming back.
Okay.
And this is where it gets real woo-woo, kind of out there. But I feel like a lot of our energies have chosen Earth, and like an Earth life, because this is like a particular learning experience different than other forms of life. I feel like we're all kind of starseed stuff, and it's just that this particular Earth cycle or whatever might be some sort of an institution that we're choosing to stay in longer for some sort of higher soul purpose or something.
So what you're basically telling me is I could pass, come back in the Carina Nebula on one of the trillions and trillions of galaxies, and then this telescope could take a picture and I could be waving on that planet. Like,
I think of us like, honestly, because we're human, and this is just where I'm at.
Oh my gosh.
Because we have these brains that are biological and limited in a lot of ways, we've said, okay, what's high vibe, what's low vibe, what's good, what's evil, what's God, what's devil, like what's all, like these duplicities we have all over. It's just our way of interpreting. You're losing. Look, you look totally disinterested.
No,
this energy around us.
No, is that Dad? I'm depressed.
It's not depressing. It's awesome. It's like liberating. You know what? It's like, go do stuff.
Well,
Who cares?
And I'm going to tell you that's exactly right, because for the past week, my decision making is way off, and I'll wait to the end of the show to tell you why, because it just doesn't matter anymore when there's all these trillions and gazillions of galaxies. But
other people are really excited about those photos. Over here, it's just like existential crisis land.
Yes, big depression. All right, so let's move on. We have a couple of ads. When we come back, we're going to talk about how different celebrities have dealt with loss and grief.
Now, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. You've just heard Scott. He's having a lot of anxiety and stress. I mean, you think about all the times your mind runs away with you when you get upset or stressed, and there's ways that you need to take care of your mind. If you think about it, how well would you take care of your car if you had to keep the same one your entire life? Well, that's how our brains work. So BetterHelp Online Therapy is a great way to support your healthy brain. I personally have worked with my BetterHelp counselor for a while now. She is absolutely always there for me, responds quickly, and I do the phone conferencing, so I don't have to see anybody. I can just talk on the phone, and she can talk on the phone with me, and it just gives me clarity, and it centers me. BetterHelp is online therapy. It offers video, phone, even live chat only therapy, which some people like that sessions, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. It's very quick, and the app is very responsive. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/KYA. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/KYA. My family has been eating Catalina Crunch cereal for a while now. Personally, the Cinnamon Toast is my fave, and I like it in the morning. I like it at night when I'm just really feeling hungry. It's a great snack, and I like all the flavors. It's just Cinnamon Toast is my go-to. There's variety packs too, so you can give a few or all of them a try, and my kids eat it too. My husband eats it. We all eat it. I like how crunchy it is. I love that you can add in yogurt or fruit or whatever you want. It just satisfies that craving with that crunch, but without any added sugar. It's low carb, it's high protein, zero sugar. I feel really full for a long time after I eat it. It's made with clean ingredients. There's nothing artificial in Catalina Crunch cereal. You can taste for yourself why over 10,000 customers, including me, rate Catalina Crunch 5 stars. They've got 8 crave-worthy flavors to choose from. The cinnamon toast, my fave, dark chocolate, which I love when I'm really having a chocolate moment, chocolate peanut butter, chocolate banana, honey graham, fruity, maple, waffle, and mint chocolate. Every flavor is delicious on its own, but you can mix them together for some truly mouthwatering combos. My kids like to do that. Every flavor is delicious on its own, but try just mixing them together like that and see what you think. Not sure which flavor to try first? Well, grab a variety pack and try them all at once, but don't be surprised if you fall in love with all of them. So see why Catalina Crunch is the fastest growing cereal brand in America. Just go to catalinacrunch.com/KYA for 15% off your first order plus free shipping. That's catalinacrunch.com/KYA. Not sure which flavor to start with? Well, try a variety pack and check out their delicious cookies and snack mixes while you're at it. Again, that's catalinacrunch.com/KYA for 15% off your first order plus free shipping. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Look, I mean, I just want to say, look, if you didn't get enough likes on your Instagram post today, and I know there's someone listening that didn't get enough likes, they wanted more, just know that there's trillions of miles to the Carina Nebula.
I have a feeling the kids are going to be hearing this a lot.
They are.
And they're going to be
Bree.
like...
Yeah, because Bree's at that age, she really cares,
Yeah.
And she even told me, she's, we were in...
she's in middle school.
Yeah, she's in middle school. And we were and we will get to the segment in a second. And we were in the grocery store the other day, and she was really happy. And I said, oh, why are you so happy? And she said, oh, because my preppy video on TikTok did real well.
Oh, yeah.
And, whatever. I don't know what that means. I got a few hundred likes or whatever. And then, other times I was like, well, why are you depressed? And then she won't tell you. And then later on she'll be like, well, my prep video didn't get that much. And that's horrible.
I know.
And especially with there being trillions and zillions of miles. But all right.
I know.
All right. So we picked out a few celebrities. We picked out 3. Mm-hmm. Lizzo, Luke Bryant, and Cameron Boyce. And we're going to talk about their stories in Oracolor and their stories of grief and loss. So we'll start with Lizzo.
Okay.
And I did a little research. I'll give the background, and of course you're going to do the...
Resident Lizzo historian, Scott.
Yes, I'm actually a historian of Lizzo. She was born in 1988 in Detroit. Her name was Melissa Jefferson.
Okay, there you go. Very good.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know what her name was.
Yeah.
That was just Lizzo.
You like baby Lizzo?
Who knew it? Yeah. We had a baby, right? We had that, right?
Yeah.
And believe it or not, she was trained in the flute. She's a classic, what do you call that, a flutist? Flautist? Something like that. Doesn't matter because, like you said, the universe
She
is so
does
big.
play the flute sometimes
Yeah.
in her concerts. I've seen this.
Okay. So she grew up in Detroit. She moved at the age of 10 to the city of Houston. Mm-hmm. And at age 20, 21, depending on the site you go to, I think it's 21, but I've seen a couple of sites that said 20 as well, her father died. And she dropped out of college.
Yeah.
And this was kind of, I guess, a turning point in her life. And this comes actually, I'm going to give this from her, she had an Instagram post. So this is coming from her Instagram post in 2009. Mm-hmm. So about 2009. 2009 was the year my dad died, the year I had to live in my car and cried myself to sleep on Thanksgiving. Again, the post didn't come out in 2009. It was about 2009.
Yes,
I apologize.
Her dad died in 2009.
Yeah.
And she's talking about that.
Correct.
Yeah.
She said in the post, no hope, no plan, nothing.
Yeah.
And then it goes on to say in 2019, a decade later, she had a number 1 song, number 1 album, and she wrote to her mama that, I can buy you a house now.
That's so sweet.
Which was sweet. It was really sweet, actually.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really sweet. Brought out the blue in me.
Right.
And all right, so let's talk about this in Oracolor and how these colors handled it.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this, and next after this more specifically. But I have a picture of Lizzo at that time.
Okay.
And Lizzo's always very purple. She's got a little blue, but she's always very, very purple. And I'm looking at her picture right from 2009 when all this went down. And her purple, if I saw this at the time, I'd be like, oh, that's okay. Simmer down, purple. Because Purples with that shade, when I see it, you just don't know what's happening. It's like a boiling, ready to burst pot, like a steamer, pressure cooker. And because she's purple, it probably could have gone either way. And it looks like what happened is she decided to just throw herself in her art and give herself over 100%, even in ways that were uncomfortable. I'm going to live in my car. I'm going to be really sad. I'm going to cry. I'm going to do this. But I'm also going to take the shots, and I'm going to... I think that's when she put a lot into her career, and she just like did things and just went for it and took charge. And it's interesting how she took that purple, because purples, when they're grieving, have a tendency to want to make themselves feel better by hurting themselves. It's just that the way that she did it might have been more like, all the uncomfortable things she had to do to put herself out there. Like, how uncomfortable is that to go, I'm going to form this band. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to stick my neck out 4,000 times and get it chopped off 3,999 times, because rejection and all that stuff that maybe she wouldn't have dealt with before felt okay because she was already hurting. And I think if you're purple, you might understand that a little bit. I get it.
Okay.
When something's, you just have that pain in you so hard, you're going to feed it. You got to feed it. You got to feed it sometimes with more pain. But the pain that she fed it with helped her career. Now, I think she still deals with a lot of probably purple side effects. That's why but it's a double-edged sword, because she writes such beautiful music that gets us. Okay. I mean, her lyrics. So anyway,
all right. So in the 2009 photo, it's all purple.
Oh yeah, it's
just total purple.
But I'll tell you, yes.
No secondary color.
I'm like scared about you, purple.
Scared
like, are you okay?
Purple.
Like,
okay.
if I saw somebody, I'm like you kind of want to handle her with kid gloves, like that.
Okay. And you were right, actually. She did move, I think, to the Twin Cities at that time. Okay. Did get into all these different bands.
Yeah.
And she was making a lot of headway up there. I mean, and that's got to be hard to do. I mean, you don't think of the Twin Cities as like music town, right?
Yeah.
Even Detroit, you would think more music town, like Motown.
Yeah, I don't even know the scene.
Yeah, I don't even know. So that's impressive.
That's crazy impressive. Now, because I just watched her on the Today Show, and you did too.
Yes.
For the morning concert series. She's still purple. She's always very purple to me, but it's mute. It's like less.
Is she still just one color?
No, she's got blue in there.
Okay.
Too. But she's always just like a lot of purple. But it's not as, like, the shade isn't as, like, bright or in your face or what. It still is, but it feels, listen, I think Lizzo walks the line with her, with that. And it's just something that we like, and she puts it in her music. That's why you get such a feeling when you listen to her music, because she puts herself in that. And sometimes artists that do that, you're like, man, I feel that.
Okay. Do you often, and just going back to the 2009 photo, do you often see someone that is total purple?
If I was doing
color?
a reading, like if I saw this picture of her, let's say it's somebody's niece or something, I'd be like, oh no, she needs help. I'd be like, reach out. What's going on? Something's happening here, like ASAP. Okay. So I do see people like this, and spirit gives me such I want to mother them, or I worry about them, or they need assistance.
But that same purple that was like, whoa, you need help here, also was the catapult.
That's why it's complicated, because that could have gone either way.
Right.
Like sometimes I'll see people like that. It's like, who are they talking to? Like, but I'll tell you this with her dad. Oh, because I took a picture of her dad.
Okay.
And her dad is so red. He's red blue.
Okay.
Like you. And her dad's energy is so strong that I feel like he was guiding her, and his memory, like she could never hurt herself because she wouldn't do that to dad's memory, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because she and purples can channel really well. So she probably like really channeled dad. She's like, I can't make that choice in a bad way, because daddy wouldn't have appreciated that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not doing that because that would negate all his years of hard work raising me, right? Or whatever. So I feel like that his energy and his goodness and just his love for her stayed with her and guided her energy towards things that benefited her, even though they were probably super uncomfortable and still tough.
And that's interesting, because the red blues always talk to me.
Oh, yeah.
And, the red blue dads always talk to me.
I know.
And it's weird because Lizzo is not someone I would usually, because usually I do the background for this and pick out the celebrities that we're going to do and then run them by you to make sure it works. And Lizzo's not one that I would usually pick. That's like one of the first. I mean, no offense to her.
It's not. You're not running around town listening to your Lizzo tunes,
right?
It's just not you.
But that one
it's
really,
okay.
It really spoke to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, her dad is such a great look. See, this
So-
is his picture.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah.
Isn't he sweet? You can just tell he's a good dad.
Yeah. And she yeah. All right.
All right. So that's Lizzo.
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna move on here. All right. All right. Excellent. All right. So next one we have is Luke Bryan.
Yeah.
Country singer. He's also a judge on American Idol. Okay. So I'm also a Luke Bryan historian as well.
Excellent. I had no idea.
Yes. He grew up in rural Georgia on a farm. He was
Okay.
a farmer. And now this guy's had a lot of tragedy. There's a lot of tragedy here. Let me go through some. He lost his older brother, Chris. Chris died at 26. The year was 1996. And Luke himself was 19 at the time. And it was just a car accident. Okay. He then went through other tragedy. His sister Kelly died in 2007. She was 39 at the time. They don't know the cause.
She just
natural
died.
cause.
They don't even know.
39 years old.
It's like a mystery.
Died. She
Okay.
she had 3 kids. Still has 3 kids.
Right.
Okay. Kelly's husband, Lee, died 7 years later.
Stop.
So he was 46 when he died.
Oh my
so
God.
Lee was raising the 3 kids on his own.
Oh my God.
And then he died of a heart attack.
Oh my
7 years
God.
after the death of Luke's sister Kelly.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is just filled with tragedy here. And then Luke adopted the kids. They were a little bit older.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the ages down. I think 13, 16, and 20 are coming to my brain. I'm not sure. 1 boy and 2 girls.
Okay.
So that's basically the backstory there. So at 19...
Wow. His poor mom.
Yeah, unbelievable, right? At 19, Luke was kind of getting ready to go to Nashville. That's what country people do, right? When you turn 19, you go to Nashville.
That's like what we think.
Yeah, you go to Nashville. Chris Stapleton did the same thing.
Okay.
All right. So he was about to go to Nashville, and then the brother dies in this car accident.
Oh.
So he doesn't go. You know, remember, he's rural Georgia. He's on a farm.
Yeah.
He feels that's his
He's
place,
19.
and there's probably nothing you could have told him at that time
Right.
to say otherwise. And he delays it for 4 years. He goes to college in Georgia Southern University, and actually that is where he meets his wife.
Wow.
Divine timing, right?
Yeah, divine timing.
Divine timing. If he goes to Nashville, never meets his wife, Caroline.
Okay.
And they would never get married, and then he has 2 kids with her as well.
Okay.
So, and basically, then after the 4 years isn't the last part, and then I'll let you run with it. His dad actually convinces him after 4 years to go to Nashville.
Oh.
And he says to his son, "This life will always be there."
Okay.
The farm life, I guess.
Right.
And,
You got to try something new.
and again, I watched some interviews that Luke did. I think it also was for the Today Show, where he really talks about seizing the moment where you just have this, and kind of fits into the whole. This whole thing is fitting into that.
Yes.
Where with the universe, it's like you just have that. That's all you got.
Is it? You just have this one moment.
You have this moment. You're gonna do it or not, and if you don't do it, you got to at least try.
Right.
So that's what he's all about. And
Okay.
he seemed like an incredible. I mean, I don't know him personally.
Yeah, you're not driving around listening to Luke Bryan
No, I
music
don't listen to
either.
Luke Bryan either. And this story really came to me too. And I'm like, wow, I want to do this one. And I mean, he seems incredible from the outside. Maybe you can give us some insight.
Yeah, so I just grabbed a couple pictures of him. I got him as like a little kid, and now he's yellow blue.
Okay.
So
Like my dad.
yeah, he's very blue, with yellow. So when I look at him, so it kind of makes sense with the whole grieving and loss thing. Again, I'm going to go into this more later. Blues want to be there for other people. So I can imagine just looking at him like, his brother dies. Here's the farm. Everyone, he doesn't want to cause one more issue in the family by going off and trying something. It just doesn't feel authentic or correct or right to him. He wants to stay consistent and normal and easy breezy for his mom and dad and sister probably at that time. And when I look at him, he's just a really do-gooder type guy. Like, that's important to him. And I have pictures of his parents too, and they're like very, I mean, salt of the earth people. Mom is actually green blue. Dad he looks green blue too. So I mean, they're not real. I feel like family first, but also selfless. So their family, they've poured themselves into each other. So him wanting to go do something like, all right, I'm going to make a career because I'm talented and I really want to follow that passion, might have felt selfish to him until dad gave him permission to do it.
Right.
And when dad gave him permission to do it, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I can do it because dad said I could. And I think that's important for us all to remember that, to look around who needs permission from you. Even if you don't think you need to give them permission, there might be somebody around, especially if they're blue and yellow, who kind of, they're the ones that want to do the right thing all the time. And they're never going to call attention to themselves. Like maybe we have to notice them and be like, no, you're allowed to do that and it's okay. We'll be okay. But yeah. So, and he married, I have a picture of him and his wife too, Caroline. She's yellow purple and she feels like and I don't know much about them myself, but I feel like they handle celebrity life pretty well. Like very, like, and it's her too. Like he's got a lot of those family value, kind of like family first and all that. And I feel like she's really good at putting boundaries around the family, privacy and things like that, protecting him a little bit because he is blue. So she might have to tell him sometimes like, hey, you don't have to be nice right now. It's okay. Like that. I feel like she's good at setting them up and they're a good partnership.
Yeah. And she also actually, I think a few years back, I don't have the information on this. She also lost a niece.
Oh my God.
And they started a foundation in her name.
Oh, wow. They've had a lot of loss
They
together.
had a lot of loss. I know. When I kept going through, I'm like, no, this can't be. Like,
Yeah.
how, every time I went further, deeper down, it was like another loss. And then you're like, wondering how does he deal with it? And it's...
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
how he deals with it is he tries to put his best foot forward for the people around him and be stable and patriarchal and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
He seems like a really nice person.
No, he does.
But yellow people, he's yellow too. And yellows, when they deal with loss, it's kind of like, all right, let's be practical. How can I help you? They don't always think about themselves. They just try to be like a stable foundation for other people, which I feel like that's his thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The third one that I chose was Cameron Boyce.
Yeah.
Okay. He was a Disney star, and I knew of him, not personally, but I knew him because the kids loved the I think it was Descendants.
Mm-hmm. And he's in Grown Ups.
And he was in the show Grown Ups, and it's like a movie here that we always we watch. We watch it.
We just find it very funny.
Yes. And so I remember when he died, because the kids had told me.
Yeah.
And it was really, really sad. And let me just give a little backstory on this one, because this one goes back a little bit why I picked it. And at the time I'm like, all right, maybe I should reach out, without you knowing. I said maybe I should just reach out to the family, see, you're a medium, maybe they would need help in this time of grief, whatever. And I was writing an email, I think, to the foundation at the time. And Abby, I think she was probably around 3 or 4 years old. I'm just writing it, doing my thing. She's doing her thing. And all of a sudden, she just shouts out, Cameron, out of nowhere. Just out of nowhere.
Yeah, it freaked you out.
And I got freaked out. I never actually sent the email because I got so freaked out.
Yeah.
I got so freaked out. So, yeah, so I'm like, all right, let me come back to this one. Let me see what happened there. So let me do a little research. Now, he had epilepsy. He died at, I think he was age 20. I think he died at 20 years old.
Yeah.
July the 6th. And he had this ongoing medical condition. I don't know when he was diagnosed, but he had it for a while. They, knew of it. His co-stars and people that knew him always called him an old soul. And I've heard you use that term before. And could you just define what that is again?
That's just somebody, and he has like a very deep blue and purple aura, and just kind of somebody who's very sensitive, aware of other people's feelings, connects emotionally to other people, and feels like they've been here before. Like just mature for his years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so again, I looked at it, and then I showed you the picture of the mom and the dad, and you got, I want to say you almost got a little frightened when you saw the picture of the mom.
Yeah.
And like from her energy.
Yeah.
Now. So let's start with them, the mom and the dad. What are their colors, and What's going on?
Yeah, so I guess a little backstory again between me and you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because you're all right. So for everybody listening, Scott's always, this has been a thing. It's like touchy or something because you've wanted me to reach out to them and I always feel stressed. And that's because when I look at the picture of his mom, I feel like she's not receptive or something to it. And the last thing I'd ever want to do is look like, I don't know, I don't want to bother anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and the only reason why is because how would Abby have just had Cameron in the middle of nowhere, which he was 4?
I know.
With no prompt.
I know.
And that's why it's kind of maybe weighed on me a little.
Yeah. So we're doing it now. So anyway, mom, she is 3 colors. And I think what happened was, I'm looking at her picture now, is she was purple blue, but she wears such a very convincing red. It's like an inauthentic red. So when I look at mom, she has dealt with this, I feel like, by throwing herself into the foundation, like the foundation for children that is because of Cameron and what he wanted and to extend his philanthropy further and to help further causes that are important to him and that. So in pure red form, and I'm going to talk about this, I feel like she got really passionate. And I also just get this feeling of, and this is not me judging, it's just a feeling I get. And again, I don't know any of this. I'm a psychic. This is just my energy interpretation. I have no actual information on this. I just have to put that out there. But I feel like she's pissed off. And who wouldn't be? I get it. But I feel like she's very angry. And I don't know if she's angry at herself or the situation or life isn't fair or just something. But I get that feeling inside of her. And it doesn't feel like it has a lot of places to go. So that's why I don't, I've always been hesitant to kind of DM or reach out because I don't want you to do it to me. But I feel this kind of feeling that it's keeping her from maybe just fully embracing that energy from Cameron on the other side because he's so strong and he's and I feel like his organization and everything that they're going through and everything that they're building for him is so him and so what he would have wanted. So it's beautiful ways to connect. I just have this feeling if I was going to talk to her one-on-one, I'd say, what is that blockage inside of you? And how can we let that go? Or how can we look at it? How could we see it? How could we acknowledge it first? And then think about how we can move it to the side a little bit and let something else in. And sometimes when you're sad and you're grieving, it's hard to let something else in because, man, when you lose a kid, and I don't know this from experience, knock on wood, I just know this from reading people who've lost, it is a free fall and you never hit the ground. And it is something that I feel like she's absolutely terrified of. And there's zero judgment. How you deal with that is how you deal with that. I just have this want to reach into her and heal it or just make her see it. And so, yeah, it's a lot. Every time I look at her, I get very emotional because I feel like it's somebody that needs to hear some things, but also doesn't want to because they're scared of the feelings that would come after, which I get. And I get that. So it's a lot. And he's just such a sweet energy on the other side. And he's okay. I get that from him. And I get that he loves that his memory is being used to help people and that his friends are supportive and all those things, how they carry hhis cause. Because that would have been the most important thing to him.
Yeah. And no, I mean, these people are speaking today because I feel it over here. So
yeah.
Just a quote that his sister said about him, and then we'll go to the break. We'll just go right to the break from that. He was perfect. He always said that if you have a voice, you have the privilege of using that voice for change. And he did not take that idea lightly. Oh, man. He understood his responsibility as someone so many kids would look up to. Cameron always went out of his way to be giving and kind.
Wow. It's summer, and if you have kids, you know what? That summer's long. It's a real long time. But you know what happens when we get a little passports package? Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, hours hours my kids spend playing together like it's out of some sort of beautiful storybook where children always get along. They'll sit there and play so kindly with one another with these wonderful interactive toys and games and learning situations that are out of this world, out of the box interesting. Little Passports. Little Passports offers globally inspired, award-winning kits filled with hands-on activities, games, and stories. I mean, they do them all designed to spark curiosity and imagination among young adventurers and scientists. And I have a 7 and a 13-year-old, and they're both equally interested in each other's stuff and beyond. Each month, Little Passports will send a kit packed with play-based activities, interactive crafts, puzzles, games, and stories to help kids have fun while they learn about the world around them. Whether building a solar-powered robot, we did it, creating a Spanish mosaic, or playing with animal friends in the Serengeti, kids ages 3 to 10 and beyond, because I have a 13-year-old, will love learning with Little Passports. Each kit contains activities that are perfect for their age and match to their interests, and they're so cute the way they come to you. And Little Passports makes the perfect gift for parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, godparents, and educators. Seriously, if you're wanting to send kids gifts and you don't know what they're into Little Passports. Choose from month to month, 6-month, or 12-month subscriptions, whichever is right for you, and you can stop anytime. Share the world with your little explorers with Little Passports. There's always something new to discover. So for listeners of the show, Little Passports is offering new customers 50% off your first month of any subscription when you go to littlepassports.com/Aura and use promo code Aura at checkout. That's 50% off your first month of any subscription when you go to littlepassports.com/Aura and use Aura checkout. That's littlepassports.com/Aura and Aura at checkout. Hey, Scotty, we are talking about wild grain.
Okay, wild grain has basically been the only ray of hope in my life the past week. I've been eating the croissants nonstop, the sourdough bread, everything. I just eat it all. It's the only thing that makes me feel better. Okay, and I'm being honest.
It's true. That is, he just had to come on and be honest.
Yes.
Well, remember, when fat was bad with quotes in it around the 90s, and now it's back. Just like there's good fats and bad fats. I mean, there's good carbs and bad carbs. Enter wild grain, my friends. With their slow fermentation and clean ingredients, bread is back. Oh, thank goodness. Get ready to be a carbivore without the guilt. Start loving bread again with the clean ingredients and delicious simplicity of wild grain. Wild grain is the first bake from frozen box for artisanal bread. Plus, they have amazing rolls, pastries, and even handmade pastas. Wild grain uses only clean ingredients such as unbleached and non-GMO flour and utilizes a slow sourdough fermentation process that's better for you and tastes better than anything you can find in a grocery store. Prepare to be wowed, I'm telling you. Plus, for every new member, Wild Grain donates 6 meals to the Greater Boston Food Bank. They've donated over 120,000 meals so far. Here's how it works. Sign up and choose which type of box you want to receive and how often. Then Wild Grain delivers for free a box of breads, pastas, and pastries with easy to follow instructions. Every item bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less. Traveling? Freezer already stocked? No problem. It's easy to reschedule, skip, or cancel. Hungry already? For a limited time, you can get $30 off the first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/KYA to start your subscription. You heard me. Free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/KYA. That's wildgrain.com/KYA, or you can use promo code KYA at checkout. What is loss? What is grief? They really do go hand in hand. And yes, it's a part of life, and it's a part of life that we all have to deal with in some way or other eventually. And many of you probably already have in a lot of different ways. There's just no right or wrong way to deal with it. So I wanted to focus on what loss is, what grief is, and how different aura colors deal with it. In readings, loss to me feels like a chunk got bitten out of you. And you can't ever fill it, and you don't want to. But you have to learn how to live with that big old chunk missing from you. And nobody else sees it. But you feel it all the time. There's just this big piece missing from you. And you go out, and you go to the grocery store, you go run your errands, or you go see people, and you look okay, but you're not. And you don't want to show them that you're not, so you plaster on the smile. It's exhausting. And when you have loss, going back to who you were, it's both like what you want and also what feels most empty to you. So I think a lot of times with loss, it's coming to terms with the fact that you're not just mourning what you lost, you're mourning the version of you that went with that. And accepting that takes time. So I feel like that's part of grief in the grieving process. Basically, just the way when I obviously in my work, in my practice, I get to read a lot of you who have had immeasurable loss. And it's not just the loss, it's the need now to reinvent yourself. And that's a lot. So therefore, a lot of times after these losses, you end up shedding many things that you thought be corely important to you. Friends, jobs, living situations, hobbies. Sometimes your personality even feels like it changes. And people will notice it eventually. And they either accept it and they stay, or they don't. They have to kind of move on. There are different types of losses. What I've noticed is you can't quantify pain. And I'll explain that more in a second. There really isn't anyone who can measure your pain or someone else's pain. So just losing a pet, for example, people will try to minimize it. Oh, well, he was a dog. He had a good life, whatever. Or it's a dog. There is no pain hierarchy. That's what I've noticed with people. And something someone finds painful that you or others might find laughable, it doesn't help. So just like what I've learned in doing readings is you have to take your judgment out of people's pain and out of people's conceptualization of what loss is. You just have to. Because you can't measure it. You can't say yours is worse than his and his is worse than hers. You really can't. If somebody's really suffering and they really feel loss, it is what it is. That's real for them. That's their reality. What I've noticed in life is that people will measure you and your loss by what they themselves have gone through. We all do it. I try not to, okay? Like I'm making a conscious awareness. I'm sure a lot of you try not to too. But I feel this so strongly in my readings because I know that it's an ego thing to do something like that. We'll take our pain and measure it against others. So if somebody's going through something that's similar to what we've been through or worse, we can tend to have more sympathy. And if it's less than what we've been through or we can feel very dismissive of it. And that's not all of us. I would just say that's kind of how the world is. And it's hard. But since most of you listening are probably highly sensitive people and empath types and empath auras, you're not doing this, but I know you understand what I'm saying. Unfortunately, and fortunately, I suppose, there are some losses everyone just collectively agrees because society says so. Some losses that are bigger than others. And because of this, you'll get more readily available, widely given sympathy. This is even in, when you get a job, like, oh, who died? Okay, well, this is the amount of time you get off based on who died. Like, we'll decide what loss is for you. So a loss of a close friend, a death of a partner, spouse, death of maybe a classmate or a coworker, somebody that you really love has a serious illness, you've had a breakup, death of a family member. These things people tend to get easier. And then there's obviously other losses that have huge feelings of grief and upend people's lives, but they don't always get the the sympathy and the support, like leaving your home, maybe you got kicked out of your house or something like that and you're young, illness, loss of health. I think many of you might understand, oh, you have this diagnosis, and people they're not in it like you are. So you're not getting the constant sympathy or understanding or support if you're chronically ill or have chronic pain issues or something like that. Death of a pet, change of job, move to a new home. Sometimes even like leaving school, like being in a transition period, or all of a sudden you have a loss of a physical ability or a loss of a limb or a loss of financial security. You were fired or you went bankrupt. Someone swindled you out of lots of money. I mean, these things cause horrible feelings of loss, and really kind of that same feeling of living life with a big chunk ripped out of you, where, yeah, you look okay to other people, but you're not the same person inside, and you know that. It's like going around and no one can see you. No one can see you, and it's so isolating. And then to top it all off, if the reason why you're feeling this way is something people decide not to understand, that's even worse. There's also sudden versus predictable loss. So, sudden losses are sudden. All of a sudden, you're in this horrific accident, or all of a sudden somebody passes away instantly. There's no way to prepare for these things. And so on top of the loss, you're dealing with trauma and, PTSD or whatever mental health crises come after, on top of the medical issues or just like I said, the mental health issues. You can have lingering effects that people don't understand, like anxiety or nightmares. And then there's predictable losses. This is something where someone's perhaps going to pass. So you have this time to prepare for it, or like, okay, in 3 months you will not have a job anymore. You have this time to prepare for it. Or, you're getting evicted in 90 days. Okay, I have this time but it's the anticipation of that happening, which can cause you a lot of feeling of grief and loss. And then when it actually happens. So that's a twofold thing. I guess what I noticed is people, in an attempt to try to make you feel better when you're going through something, is they try to minimize it. Well, at least your dad's terminally ill. Well, at least you had time for closure. It's like, okay, but it doesn't, like, there's no world where you can make this better, put a little sprinkles on this, okay? Like, it's, like I said, you can't quantify pain. So trying to find silver linings when people do that for you, it can make you even feel more empty and isolated and pushed away from people and separated, because it's like, oh yeah, I guess I'm not supposed to be like 10% as sad as I am or something. All right. How long does grief last? Honestly, when I do readings, and this gets me, I'll tell you, because like I say, I'm just a person and I'm just the vessel, and I'm an empathic, intuitive person. So I when I do a reading for you, I walk into your reality, and I don't think grief goes away. Just speaking on, I guess it's more just speaking on like what I've experienced in all my readings. I don't feel like grief goes away. I feel like grief is something you learn to live with. I feel like grief becomes a companion. You learn how to live with that big chunk taken out of you, because you reinvent yourself and you move your life around enough that it accommodates for it. Because at the end of the day, that when that chunk is taken out of you, that's still you. That happened to you, and it's something that's part of you. You can't erase that with a big old eraser. So when I read people, especially people who have had very profound losses, it's always there. And it just takes the right photo to show up, or just a moment, or random, and it comes back fresh as day one. And I just see people really learning to deal with it, learning to live around it. But you can't rush it, especially in the beginning, because you have to learn how to be able to cope with it as a part of your life now. I call it energy equity. We put energy in everything. Like anything you care about, you've put yourself into. Anytime you love somebody, it changes you corely. It changes your core energy. You put energy equity into a relationship. It's part of you now. It's part of your soul because you made that connection together. So if you lose somebody that you've made that connection with, you go too when they go. There's parts of you, it's like cutting out everything and it goes with them. And I know the cliche thing is when someone we love dies, a part of us dies too. But I feel that in my readings. Like I feel that in people. So all the things you used to do and used to be and used to enjoy, sometimes they just won't make sense anymore. And that's okay. And then our human selves come in, our ego, and tries to make us feel guilty about it. Like, oh, you're a bad mom now because you're not enjoying, I don't know, going to this park and you're distracted. Bad mom. No, you're just coping and being honest about it and being vulnerable and speaking to it. It's okay. So we don't just mourn what we've lost. We end up having to mourn the part of us that went with it too. And then we have to learn how to live and reinvent ourselves. And then we have to learn how to move our whole life around to reflect it. So it's not just loss, it's change. And it's a lot for us. And I see different aura colors dealing with it differently. Now, because I'm doing aura color stuff, you might relate to something that maybe isn't your aura color. That's okay. Because a lot of these things do tend to, sometimes your programming and how you were raised can have a lot to do with it too. But this is my general list. So you can kind of see yourself maybe in it. Because I try to pick out the nuances, like the real nitty gritty stuff that I see different aura colors doing when they're dealing with loss. And again, this could be loss of someone you love, or a pet that you love. This could be loss of job, identity, money, home situation, relationship. You name it. So just think of like profound loss. Let's start with the red auras. Okay. Red auras, they're the ones that are just going to get angry at life, which I always kind of laugh at that a little bit. I don't, but I do. I do my sarcastic laugh at it a little bit because it's like, okay, like you're mad at what? Like the process of, like they'll actually get mad at their higher power. They'll get mad at life in general. Like, what are these cycles of life and death? Because they can't control it. So they can get really mad at it. And, Reds love to control things. So they can get really just angry. Or they get really into, well, that's not fair. How come she died and he didn't? She was a good person and this guy isn't. Like they'll make false equivalencies. They'll try to bargain afterwards in their minds. They can get a real chip on their shoulder about it and they get really angry. And Reds, when they get really angry, they can be a little risk taking. They can be a little harsh. They can be just a little bit like tough. Their anger is easier for them to handle than their sadness. And isn't that right for all of us? Sometimes it's just easier to be angry at somebody than be sad and hurt at what happened. Because being sad and hurt, way less control. Being angry is kind of a secondary emotion. It covers up the deep hurt. It makes them feel like they're in control. They're angry at something. Green people. Greens? Greens, let's start with green women, okay? Green women, because I don't know how society works or what have you, they don't check out as much as green men do with loss. But I've seen green women go on amazing trips and stuff in order to deal with it. So I'll see green women not check out, but travel and try to escape a little bit when they don't want to deal with what's going on. Both green men and women, but green men sometimes in a very unbalanced way or profound loss way, they just check out completely. Like they're not answering the phone, they're not calling friends, and they're not doing it in a way like maybe other aura colors do it, where they're like, listen, I'm sorry, I've been a bad friend, I just can't deal right now. They're not doing it that way. They're just ceasing to exist or something. So they just don't even connect at all. They can seem a little robotic. It's more a green guy thing. Green women are going to kind of be like, all right, I need to go reset. Greens, they both have a tendency to isolate. It's just, I think green women communicate better about what they're doing than green men do sometimes. And a lot of it is kind of running away from memories. It's like you just can't be around it right now. It's too much of an influx of sadness. It's too much going on that you have to see something completely different and kind of be with yourself to process it. Yellow auras, they take control. So in any sort of, I guess, loss situation, they are usually the ones that are, okay, who do we have to call? What do we have to do? What's going on? Let me find the right doctor. Whatever the situation is, they find themselves, I don't know, at the forefront of it and being really amazing helpers. But they tend to do this to stay detached from it so that they don't have to feel it so much. They'll definitely put their emotions on the back burner. They're totally wanting to stay busy, and later they can get a little anxious when things die down and it's time to really grieve. Then they have to face it, and they weren't facing it. They were just being busy. So staying busy can get harder and harder and harder to do. And then it can just like hit them. And that's hard. I notice with yellows, just talking about traditions, let's say someone in your family died and we always had Christmas with them, or we always had Thanksgiving with them. Yellows are the type, like, they'll do one of two things. They'll take over the tradition, like, I'm doing it now. And they're very loyal to it, or they'll reinvent it totally. Like this year, every year we go here together. No more the way we used to. We're going to do it this way now. But they'll kind of take control of traditions and put their own spin on it, or get like very loyal to how it used to be, which I feel like people appreciate in times of loss. Yellows are very stable people, and they like to take that environment and make it stable for other people. Purples, well, what do purples do when life gets hard? They're going to self-destruct. It's just what they do. They can definitely take it out on themselves. This is purple aura's way of feeling in control. So when the world falls apart, they're like, oh, all right, well, I'm going to, and then they like call my old boyfriend, or I'm going to, oh, this looks like a great idea to drink all this tonight, So they can kind of do that thing. They can have it's a hard time dealing with pain, so they can feel more in control if they act it completely out on their own selves, which is hard. Purples in general, especially when dealing with loss, they can feel very overwhelmed because they're not great at taking the next step. They're great at bombing things up and definitely trying new stuff, but they're not always good at organizing the aftermath. So they can have a hard time concentrating. They can feel like they're going crazy. Purples, when they're dealing with a lot of loss, they're like, I think I'm losing it. But I have a theory. If you can express that you think you're losing it or you think you're going crazy, you're actually in great shape, because that means that you have an awareness that something's going on, and then you can take steps to help yourself out, contact somebody or whatever. And so if you're feeling that way, my theory is you're in good shape. Just go find the support because you're okay. I've been like that. So Indigos obviously isolate. They're a little bit better than the green guy isolation, in that they might even tell you, like, listen, because they feel bad. They're like, I'm not isolated. It's not anything you're doing. It's just what I need right now. They can feel very disassociated or numb. I get so many indigos being like, am I a bad person? Because this is somebody I love. Like, my spouse died. I loved him. Why am I so numb? Why do I feel like I'm floating in a bubble? Why do I feel like my head is in a cloud and my body's just walking? What is wrong with me? And I'm sure I have some therapists listening, or psychologists or psychiatrists that are like, this is it's definitely called something, I'm sure, how people deal with trauma and loss. But I just noticed indigos can do this. And a lot of it is, I feel, an energetic survival mechanism. That's my side of things. I feel like it's an energetic survival mechanism because you're so used to constantly feeling everything all the time. I mean, you feel if somebody doesn't like the restaurant somebody else picked out and it's awkward for you. So how are you going to do with all those feelings on when you've experienced some incredibly profound loss? Your own self, for self-preservation, understands time to shut down. Time to shut down. down. Otherwise, we'll lose you. So there's nothing wrong with you feeling disassociated or numb. Just might mean you're taking time until you feel safe enough to go back to it and start working through it. Also, indigos can have a very hard time with recreating, especially if somebody died, traditions or breakup traditions, anything. They need to do their own thing. And indigos can feel very, very exhausted and tired when they're sad, just fatigued. Let me just sleep. I just want to sleep. And I'll just go right into blues because they're going to feel that way too. Exhausted, fatigued. You have to be careful when you're dealing with loss and you're a blue aura that you don't make yourself sick, because that's another way I will see blues. Indigos too, but blues the most. I'll see them making themselves sick, like physically ill. Like all of a sudden they have heart issues and autoimmune issues and nerve issues, and they feel like they're dying. And they really do have these symptoms. They're not making it up. It's not in their head. But it's because there's so much going on in their own grief that they take it out on their own bodies, and it starts spilling over in their physical symptoms in their bodies. Blues can also feel a little victimized. Like, why is life so mean to me? Why did this happen to me? Why me? So they can get victimized, and they can feel guilt. Like, this is my fault. I mean, they're the first ones to be like, how is this my fault? Oop. This is how. I mean, blues are amazing. Out of all of the colors, blues are pretty good at figuring out how this was their fault. It could be the most obscure, like what is that, 6 degrees of separation or something, like 6 degrees to how is this the blue aura person's fault. So they'll sit there and build up that narrative and that story and then believe it. And also blue auras, I notice, can feel very scared, very nervous, very scared, very insecure in this world after a loss for a very long time. Turquoises, kind of back to the indigo thing. Turquoises can get disassociated too when dealing with profound loss, just numb and disassociated. I feel like that's a turquoise thing too. Maybe less aware of it, where an indigo will tell me like, I feel I feel numb, and like a turquoise might just be disassociated and be numb and not have the words to think that that's not normal for them or something, because turquoises have a hard time having a baseline for how they feel ever. And they can feel kind of ignored, especially in a family if something happened and everybody else is dealing with their stuff. I feel like the turquoise aura can feel very, second fiddle, or people aren't paying attention to me or how I'm doing. And they might not be. And turquoises tend to just kind of, cave in, disappear in themselves. Here's a story. I have a turquoise daughter, and March 2020, when the stay-at-home orders were issued, Abby was 4 and, was in preschool, loved her preschool, like really just beautiful. YMCA. I used to send her there, and it was just like a lovely, it's a great place. Ugh. Anyways, we had to break it to her, like, you can't, I don't think at that time we weren't sure, but it was like, listen, you're probably not going back. And a couple days passed, and then I want to say a week into the stay-at-home orders, Abby decided she was a cat. Okay, this is my turquoise kid. And she wore a leotard. I mean, she put together a cat outfit just from stuff around the house, and it was pretty good cat outfit. And day 1, okay, you're a cat. Haha. All right. I mean, she's crawling. She's meowing. She's not speaking. Day 2, same thing. Now she's signaling that she'll only eat, forks. She wants to drink out of a bowl. She's trying to signal she wants me to put on the floor. I'm like, no. That's where I drew the line. No, I'm not doing that. You got to eat at the table you're not eating. You don't need a fork, but you got to eat at the table. I'm not putting it on the floor. I mean, it was day 3. I mean, she hadn't spoken for 3 days. It was just meowing. And she wouldn't take off the leotard at all. So there's this went on, I want to say, for 4 or 5 days. I was actually getting really concerned. It's funny now because she's fine. But at the time in my head, I was like, oh my, what's happening? Is she regressing? She's not speaking. I was afraid she was going to start using the kitty litter. I mean, she was going full cat. Anyways, baby turquoise. I feel like when turquoises get in crisis, they don't always know what to do. So they're going to envelop themselves in something that feels safe and familiar. Pinks, I mean, when dealing and coping with horrific loss, they do tend to go into their own escapism world, and they will it's kind of like when you used to go into your bed and put the blankets over your head and turn on a flashlight, and then you just really were convinced at yourself that nobody could see you and this was your special secret fort and you were safe in here. And that's what they do when they're adults. So pink auras tend to just go right into their own world. Pinks can hold out to deal with loss until the very last minute. So something can be going on and they'll hold off. But when it hits them, it can be very detrimental to them because, they love to live in a space that feels more in control for them and is happy. And so until they balance the outside world with their inside world, they can go in their inside world for quite a while. And then they'll eventually balance the two out again where they can exist in both. Just to wrap up the whole grief thing, I had a reading with a woman and she had lost a child. And I guess just when I read somebody who's lost a kid, and like I said, you can't quantify pain, but that's pretty profound. Okay, for me, when I read those. Whenever I know one's coming up on my reading list, I'm like, just because I can sense it, and then I'll open the photos that day and I'm like, oh boy, okay. I'm excited to do it because obviously I love connecting and making connections, but it's also like, okay, it's heavy stuff. Anyways, I had a reading with a woman. She had lost a child, and Spirit was giving, and she was just like, I don't know how to do this. She had 2 other kids. She's like, I don't know how to do this. And she just didn't. And it was some time, it was almost a year since her child passed, which isn't a long time, but Anyway, Spirit was patting her on the back, and the message was, you're here. That's the accomplishment. You're here. You made it another day. You're existing. You did it. And they were giving her such a standing ovation. That was the energy I was getting. Just, you did it. There's nothing else you have to do except exactly what you're doing. Every day you get up, and every day you just do it. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And it was an amazing thing to feel, because I think in our heads, how am I doing this right? And she started crying and she said, I didn't know if I was doing this right. This makes me feel like I'm just at least something. I've done something right. So it gave her solace. And I feel like it's important, just to close, this process of coping with loss is unique to you, and it's not linear. You can feel very stuck. It's kind of like walking through the woods. Everything looks the same until one day you're like, oh, all right, I made it to the end of the trail. You don't know. You don't know when you're going to see the light again, but you just keep moving. It can feel like you're going in circles. It can just feel very unproductive. It can feel all those things, and that's normal. And it's really important to be patient with yourself in these processes. And it's really important to understand that nothing you feel is abnormal. And I feel like just what I've taken from doing a lot of readings, because I'm trying to speak from Spirit, not from my own life, okay? And what helps me. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what I get from Spirit. And a lot of things that they try to give you as solace when you've had profound loss are to take some sort of lesson from it. And if somebody died, to honor them somehow in a way that's positive. I talked about that on last week's podcast episode. To do something that you wouldn't have done because of them. They love that. To do something amazing for yourself because something sad happened. Even this mom I was talking to who lost her child, she had made a really good friend, and they were praying together a lot, and she had found a beautiful friendship with another person who had lost their child, just a beautiful bond. And it was a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful comfort to come out of such a horrible thing for both of them, but they had each other and they clung to each other, and it was really nice. So notice the good, and also write, be honest when you write, be honest when you create, be honest when you draw, or you make your garden, or just do something productive with your hands that makes you connected to the pain inside and also makes you connected to the you inside. I get that a lot from spirit, to do something that honors your pain and expresses it in some way. And obviously talking to people, obviously talking to professionals and other people who've been there, and support groups. And remember, don't quantify your pain, and nobody can quantify your pain for you. Your loss is yours, and you don't have to compare it to other people. It's your loss. It's your grief. It's your journey, and you've got this. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
So, Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family, I'm going to be reaching out to you. I want to hear your stories of surviving grief and loss, and your personal accounts of how it's changed you and how it's changed your life. And I'll put a post up on the Facebook group, and if you want to share, I always find these stories inspiring. And I feel like other people really get a boost and a feeling of, I guess, solidarity or comfort from them.
Yeah, and I do want to add a shout out to the Tuesday Night with Elizabeth discussion group. They're the ones that came up with the idea for the episode. They were really interested in this topic, and I told them we'll make it happen.
I love that. So, Scott, we discussed at the beginning of the podcast that the NASA photos and your existential crisis and all that occurred. I mean, how have you been dealing? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's making me just make decisions that I normally wouldn't make.
What kind of decisions?
Well, this morning, all we had to do was get Norman bedding at PetSmart.
Norman's our guinea pig.
He's our guinea pig. That's all we needed, was just bedding for Norman. You know, we ran out of it.
Yeah.
So you had a couple readings you had to do, and I decided that I was going to take Abby with me.
Our 7-year-old.
Okay. Now, little did we know that it was a huge adoption day.
Kitten Palooza
in the middle of PetSmart. I don't know. What do they have? 10? How many? Abby. We have Abby here. Say hi, Abby.
Hi.
How many kitties were at PetSmart?
There were 5.
5 in one enclosure.
Okay.
Yeah. They had tons of cats. They had dogs. They had everything. And then there was a cat or kitten that Abby fell in love with. And look, what happened?
And what happened, Abby?
Well, I just really wanted it, and then you just signed the contract.
How did you convince Daddy to take that kitten home? Because he is, out of the 4 of us, he's the one that always says no to cats, and the rest of us are always saying yes to cats. How did you get a 3rd cat out of Daddy?
Because I'm his favorite.
Wait, what?
What were you doing? What were you doing with the cat? Did you not put him down, or?
Well, I really saw him, and I got to hold him.
Oh.
And I just hold him, and he was really sweet, and then I just started to fall in love.
Oh my God! And he's the sweetest cat. And then you text me, Scott. You're like, "How do I get out of this?" I'm like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "You put yourself in this situation. I think it's a great idea to get a 3rd cat." Like, you're asking the wrong person. Get it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. You know, Abby, yes, it definitely is because of you. You know, and how special you are.
Daddy has 2 favorites, though.
Yes. But, I mean, honestly, and this is pure truth, what went through my head at the time, because I did not want a 3rd cat. I didn't want a 2nd cat. I don't want a 1st cat. But it was like, okay, what does it matter?
Oh, my God.
We're trillions and trillions of miles, a speck of dust in the universe. What does it matter if we have a 3rd cat or not?
Okay, this is great. You just opened up how we all can manipulate you now. Okay. I want to go. It's the 50th anniversary celebration at Walt Disney World. I want to go. And you said we couldn't go back for 5 years, and now can we go back this year?
Well, that would violate my red aura
principles. No, Scott, there's nebulas 7 trillion light years away. It's, why can't we go to Disney?
What do you think, Abby? Disney?
Yeah.
Abby also said that.
No, I want like a week in Disney and go to all like the parks.
He'll never do it.
Okay, she also said that if I do get this cat,
And I'll just get a stroller and put myself in it.
no, didn't you tell me if you get this cat, then you're not going to ask for anything else?
Yeah.
All right.
But vacations I can ask for.
Okay.
All right. I'll be putting Binks as our new kitty's name. We're officially Crazy Cat people. I couldn't be prouder of us for being Crazy Cat people. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. This podcast is for you and about you, and we're so glad that you spent some time with us.